Welcome to TheoTrade. Don Kaufman here, May 15th, 2026, Friday afternoon. The S&Ps just have moments to go to the cash close. And I'll tell you what, they're not going to close a minute too soon because the S&Ps, they're starting to tank over here. Just a little perspective, though. It's 1.3%. Look, it's not even statistically significant until you start to hit like, 2.5%, 3% in a major index, although you're fairly close inside of the Russell. Take a look at that. It's been down all day. Nevertheless, finally, some sell side activity. And this is exactly what I've been talking about through the course of this week. Start to look for two-sided trade to return to the marketplace. It had a lot to do with the volatility structure. I've been talking about that pretty much ad nauseum. But let me get into the crux of what you really want to look at here. Not just right now, but into next week and moving forward. So again, to state the obvious, all right, great. The S&Ps are down what? 100 points. It's a 7,433 point index. To be down some 90 points, again, it's not that extreme. It's just, it looks like a lot of points, right? But we just recently saw the S&Ps up 200. As I was saying, on a percentage basis, I mean, that's really all that matters. It's still fairly nominal, but there are some areas that we got to focus on and specifically focus on into next week. And you got bonds, you got oil, you got correlation. I mean, I don't need any more signs than that. Like that is right there is enough for me. Allow me to kind of explain in some detail here. So to kind of kick this off, if you take a look at the SPX, which I often term the mother of all products, the bell's going to go off here any second. And, ironically, we are absolutely massively unchanged on the week. I mean, the right up here, that's the upper edge of the expected move. That's 110 points higher than we started the week. But this line down here, that is literally where we started the week. And that's exactly where we're going to close the week inside of the S&Ps. So the S&Ps will finish the week unchanged. What are we looking at in terms of the NASDAQ? The NASDAQ, if I bring it up, where are we? Okay, down very, very minimally. All right, but then the IWM, there was the IWM. This is kind of interesting. The Russell, it actually took it on the chin. The Russell's actually lower edge of the expected move. Okay, and I know some people do look at the Dow, so sure, what the hell? We'll look at the Dow a little bit. The Dow also relatively unchanged on the week, kind of stuck in the middle with you. All right, so some two-sided trade returns. And as I said, that has a lot to do with volatility structure. We'll talk more about volatility in just a moment. Before I get into that, one of the most important areas that I think is being overlooked in some of the sell-side activity here, there's the closing bell. But one of the most important areas of the entire marketplace has nothing to do with the S&Ps, nothing to do with the Russell, and everything to do with the bond market. If you're not looking at bonds right now, okay, and some of you, this is going to catch off guard because, I don't know, maybe you didn't watch trade throughout the course of the day, or you get a little myopic, the S&Ps are down 100. Holy crap. The bonds, they broke. And the rates, they exploded today. The rates actually gapped higher. This, to me, is the most important thing, and it was done, okay, on some fairly significant volume. So that is the ZB, okay? Take a look at the ZN. This is one of the larger moves that you actually see kind of in recent history on the ZN. And more importantly and more appropriately in this particular case, because maybe you're sitting here watching this right now and you're like, I don't trade the bonds. Yeah, well, you damn well better know that the bonds just actually broke. And what that implies for you, here's the 10-year interest rate. You don't see that one too often, do you? Yeah. Hey, how do you like me now, big guy? Because again, we were sitting yesterday at 4.45%. And again, if you've never really looked at this, what's this? This is the TNX. Okay, TNX is actually the 10-year interest rate. So we're sitting yesterday. Okay, and the way that this is actually, I know it says 44.5, but it's 4.45. Okay, we gap printed basically with a high to 4.6. That is a huge move, absolutely huge move inside of the 10-year. Why is it not good? I mean, that's just to make it obvious over here. you don't have to look too far, but you look at something like the home builders, okay, absolutely decimates them. Okay, you look at something like IWM, places that actually have to borrow money, like small caps, it absolutely hammered them. Okay, those interest rates though, if they do continue on this path, and if the bonds, remember, bonds going down is interest rates going straight up, but if the bonds continue on this path, it's going to get really ugly in this business really fast. Okay, this was a considerable break. This breached lower. If you actually take a look at the bonds, we're even going to open up a 3-year chart. Today's movement shows up on a 3-year chart, and you want to always come in here. If you look at futures contracts, you go to futures, right? You go to adjust for contract changes, hit apply, hit OK. And as I said, you can literally see today being a substantial standout in terms of overall price action. But more importantly, what really impacts people, of course, is the interest rate, and we're right up there. Okay, it wouldn't surprise me to actually see even 5% get threatened again. Welcome to the fold here, Kevin Warsh, who is now our new Fed chairperson as of, literally today. So welcome to the fold. You have to deal with a significant increase, of course, in interest rates. And interest rates are going to impact us in every way, shape, or form. There's always this feeling everything's immune and it's all immune. Okay, all right, bond markets tank, rates explode. The next most important thing is a lack of correlation. And this is exactly where, bonds meet, for instance, S&P. First, let me just talk about the lack of correlation in just general terminology, right? So one thing that always bothers me, and it really bothers me in today's trading session, okay, is there's a major lack of any correlation. When you see a decent sized down day, and they did smoke them into the close today, no question. Smoke them if you got them, because we're literally closing like at lows. When you smoke them into the close like this, you want to see what I kind of term a full court press. You want to see sell side activity across the board. You didn't get that, not even close. We're still actually trying, to save things. We're trying to go in here and go, well, we could always tuck some money. We could tuck some money into Costco. It'll be okay inside of Costco. And Costco is basically at highs. Yeah, because, people that shop at Costco wouldn't possibly be interested, in what? Interest rates, right? Okay. Of course, there's going to be impact over here, inflationary pressures. So you have inflation mixed with higher interest rates. It's lovely. Yeah, I didn't even have to talk so much about CPI and PPI, which both absolutely red hot this week. I mean, the PPI numbers, red hot. Again, you're seeing the rotations. And the energy sector, this is ExxonMobil, the energy sector, okay, some of the rotations there make sense because we're going to talk about oil in a second. But then you start looking at stuff like Starbucks, they're like, okay, again, there's some money being tucked into places, okay, that shouldn't be, if you will, warm and fuzzy. They did hit them a little bit into the close today. They did, okay, it's no question about that. But the areas, okay, and the pockets of strength over here, this has to stop. You got to feel like, Adobe's up a little bit today, and CRM is up a little bit today. Obviously, again, Intuit's up a little bit today. There's even some tech stocks in there, right? Microsoft is news driven. Bill Ackman's actually investing in there. Oh, lovely. That's what I want, an activist investor involved in Microsoft. But generally speaking, you need to see us get hit across the board. You got to feel a little pain, and you're not feeling that in this marketplace. Okay, why? Because you haven't even scraped the surface, okay, of volatility, not even scratched the surface of volatility without seeing higher degrees of correlation. And it's something that's really getting to me lately, because inside of major tech stocks, okay, and again, I wanted to spend a couple of moments on correlation because it is such a significant concern. If you take a look at Apple, okay, Apple this week closed at the upper edge of its expected move, meaning it's like right where it's supposed to be, but obviously to the highs, much higher this week. Taking a look at Google will finish the week, okay, marginally lower, almost halfway home to the lower edge of the expected move. Then we look at Microsoft. And as I said, Microsoft had news, okay, it's up on the week. Then we look at Amazon, okay. Amazon kind of got its clock cleaned. It's actually going to finish outside the expected move, okay. We have Tesla. Okay, Tesla was doing great until all of a sudden sell side activity. All right, then we look at Meta, kind of stuck in the middle with you. We look at Nvidia. Nvidia had a spectacular week, but ironically closes on the upper edge of its expected move. Last but not least, Okay, some Broadcom here finishing the week massively unchanged. Do you not see what I'm talking about with lack of correlation? We're literally playing, okay, musical chairs. It's like the shell game is going on with music in the background, and you're pretty sure, okay, everything's going to be all right until you realize there's no music and there really is no ball under the shell. You better be really careful, because this rotation game just simply implies you haven't seen any volatility hit the tape. And you don't want to see these kind of rotations. You don't want to see stuff like Apple up, okay, when the S&Ps are down 1.5%. You're like, well, why? Okay, because it's still capital, okay, being rotated. It means there's just a lack, if you will, of fear. Volatility, as it goes right into my next thing, volatility is very, very muted at this point because nobody believes we can actually sell off. Correlation shows it, volatility shows it, okay? The bonds are freaking out. Oil is freaking out, okay? The dollar is freaking out. Oh, did you not look at the dollar? It's soaring. Why? This is duck and cover, okay? Tell me what else it is. Why is the dollar up? Oh, because smart people around the world go, oh, beep, buy dollar. It's already going on. Holy crap, buy dollar. Get out of bonds, buy dollar, right? Duck and cover. Even gold is actually taking a dramatic hit, but it's not because gold is taking a hit. Gold's taking a hit because the US dollar is actually rocketing up. Why is the US dollar going up? Duck and cover. It's duck and cover right now out there. So you can see people trying to protect themselves in some way, shape, or form, okay? But their volatility is still very, very muted. And the volatility is muted. And I'm looking at the volatility futures, okay? They ripped into the close today. But the volatility overall is still very muted. And I'll tell you exactly why, okay? The markets are complacent until you start to see higher degrees of correlation. Because right now, this game of the shell game, musical chairs, is still working. And you don't like to see this kind of situation when you've got a day where the S&Ps are down 109. As I said, bonds, oil, okay, correlation. They're waving red flags. Probably you should have put the freaking dollar in there as well. These are all huge red flags for the marketplace. Not a comfortable place. I can just back away and say, look, oil into itself, $100 a barrel again, right? Oil above 100. I think that's probably at issue enough to keep me on the edge of my seat. But there's this constant belief, don't worry about it. AI is going to save us all. AI isn't making money. They're just spending money. Okay. And that's good for about, if GDP is like 2.5%, did you know that the 1% of the 2.5% is actually coming from AI spending? You have to love that. Oh, I've been throwing that statistic around all week long. Okay. I love stuff like that. Also, when I was talking about volatility being muted, okay, this is also, it's alarming. We're not seeing, nobody's coming in here to buy a hedge. Normally I pick up on, oh crap, somebody's, going out there and they're hedging. Okay. Normally that's what I'm doing on a weekend update. Oh man, look at this. They're coming in and hedging. They're getting ready for something. It's not there. Okay. I don't like it at all. Okay. And the S&Ps, by the way, just since the closing bell, I know we're 10 minutes after the closing bell. Okay. Bell closed. They just continue to hit them into the close. All right. Doesn't bode well actually for Monday morning. You got a lot of pressures coming to us next week. Look, I don't want to sit here and spend a long time. You got a lot of pressure coming on you next week. Okay. You know what the players in the game happen to be. You're going to be watching bonds. They sell off again on Sunday when this marketplace reopens. You're going to beat some deep crap on Monday. Some really deep. I mean, this is going to get ugly in a hurry. You're at a inflection point. And I don't give a crap when anybody says AI will save us all. Don't worry, Intel is going to be there because it's government owned now. Nothing is going to save you if those bonds continue, okay, the way they are. Nothing's going to save you because the marketplace literally has a breaking point because markets are a huge carry trade. And the interest rates start to get to a point, everybody's like, it's over. You have to deleverage. Okay, markets are a heavily leveraged trade. I think everybody knows that. And at some point, okay, interest rates hit a level where deleveraging starts to occur, whether you like it or not. And it was a huge jump, in interest rates today. So hands and feet inside of the vehicle. But until you see higher degrees of correlation, you're not home yet. Okay, so we're going to come in next week. And if you do see a bounce next week, okay, I'm actually probably going to try to fade it. I was trying to get some positions on today. I got to tell you, in the midst of all of this going on, there's some pretty good volume here. I had a really tough time getting filled today. Tough time. Wide bid offer spreads, wider than I would normally see. Okay. I don't know why that the markets were so standoffish today, but they absolutely were. Maybe because, we knew we were going to sell off into the close. I mean, roughly speaking, this entire trading day today, I know it's a down day, but it sucked right up until the time we actually closed. Ironically, that's some of the biggest movement we've seen. Today sucked. It was just a range. We're floating around a little bit. Okay. They hit them though into the cash close. Now, as I said, the players in the game, you got bonds, you got oil, you got the lack of correlation. Okay, you got to watch the US dollar. If they still, continue to buy US dollar early next week, it is full on duck and cover. And again, I can't stress this one enough. As I said, I probably should have put that in my notes, but I was really bothered to see this because, the last 4 trading sessions, it's been nothing but a bid under the US dollar. And it's ironic because people are looking at gold and they're like, what's wrong with gold? It's not what's wrong with gold. It's okay, what's wrong with the world right now that they're buying US dollars? And you may not know why we're buying US dollars. Okay, you can always come up with a story behind it. But the bottom line is, one thing. You're buying US dollar because there ain't nowhere else to go. Okay, I'm going to buy some yuans with that. Okay, where else are you going to go? I want to buy some euros. Nobody wants to buy a euro. Okay, you think they're going to duck and cover over here? Hell no. Euro's getting hit even harder on a percentage basis right now. Last but not least, let's talk about the SPX. The SPX, okay, this week was slated to move $110 all week. It did it to a T. Literally on Thursday, we came up, hit the edge of the expected move, did a little dance, made a little love, and then came way down last night. All right, now, okay, so what? You check the box, you hit the expected move, who the hell cares? Well, the VIX didn't move very much, right? It was kind of because we're still rotating. But let's look at the SPX for its implied volatility take of next week. Go 7 days out with me. So we just came off of a week, okay? Kind of feel like nothing happened because we finished massively unchanged. They bumped volatility a lot. Okay, what's a lot? Well, we went from about $110 expected move to, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, okay, 136. And that's not even set in stone yet. We're at 136. That is a significant bump higher, okay, for a week that, like next week, there's not, is there any big earnings? No, not really, okay. Is there, any big reports coming out? Not as big as CPI and PPI from this week. So what do you got next week? Exactly, okay. You don't know what you got next week, but you got a lot of volatility. So what was interesting about this, on one hand, the longer term volatility shrugged its shoulders and said, nobody cares, okay. Short-term vol, 7 days out, it got bumped 136. Okay, that is a notable increase. It's going to be all hands on deck. Okay, coming into Monday. Speaking of Monday, even 3 days out, you have a $62 expected move. So people, okay, we're going to see some volatility next week, and I like it. This two-sided trade has returned. We like it, but the bottom line is you got bonds, okay, that are getting clocked. You got oil that's ripping. You got a lack of correlation. You got the dollar actually ripping. As I said, how many signs do you need? Thanks, everybody, for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.